Hello,
Hello, how are you doing?
let me put the sound up. There you are. I'm
Yeah,
doing well. How about you?
I am good as well. How's it going? Tell me what's new,
Well,
what's
what
different.
what were you up to yesterday?
It was Women International Women's Day, so it was just a march. It was also, in support of general people's rights in America right now and all
Yeah.
that. It was good. Yeah. Um,
Where was
it's
it?
what?
Was it downtown?
It was
Down?
at Capitol Hill, and then I think it went downtown. I ended up dropping off of it. It was, I mean, it's interesting. I There is now somewhat persistent rumors that protests are being that information around protests are being suppressed online, and why didn't I know about it, or why don't more people hear about it? I think a few things. I think one, often with lots of conspiracy theories, I think there's a kernel of truth, but I also think there's perception versus reality. I'll give you sort of what I think, and then whatever part of that is interesting to you, you can reply to. But I think so. One, perception versus reality. I think if you were there in 2017, which was where like half a million people across the entire nation, and in Seattle, it was stretched blocks and blocks and blocks. I think if you were there then, almost any protest after that seems smaller. So that's the
Yeah.
sort of perception piece. I think we know the kernel of truth piece is, I think we know the algorithms favor dominant culture, and it's not even that they necessarily, at least historically, have intentionally marginalized people. They just favor dominant culture, which means the most sort of generic. And so people who fall outside of that, their content doesn't get as much exposure. Add to that, more recently, we know also for a fact that some of these CEOs have been pivoting to Donald Trump's way of doing things, and that way of doing things. And then the fourth thing, and this is the part that I think is most interesting, I think we are all self-censoring. A couple of the last few protests I've been to, many of the things I've seen now, instead of having an address on it, it says RSVP for an address. A lot of the events are more likely to say now, because I do a lot of videotaping, please don't share or upload this online. So I think it's almost a community self-censoring. So if people are saying, how come I don't hear about it? And then the fifth thing is, right now, we're not very coalesced. It's lots of different people organizing lots of different things. So yesterday there was separately something happening in a Tesla dealership, something happened, so I think until sort of it falls behind one organization or body, and that's always dangerous, because I don't usually when some what happens is someone gets built up very quickly, much more quickly than they have the capacity to scale up, and then they're responsible for everything. Then it turns out they either through mismanagement or more intentional corruption were sort of skimming or whatever, and then people feel burnt, and then the movement sort of fractionalizes again. So that's where we are. But I don't know. Anyway, any of that? What do you think?
Well, I was actually thinking about that before this call because I was reading about the demonstration in Greenwich Village against the Tesla dealership,
Yes.
which is actually growing day by day,
Sure.
which is interesting. It's not
Yes.
like it was one day and then it's
Yes.
diminished. It's actually growing. Um, and then I thought that, like you, why? Okay, so why isn't there, a million people march on Washington?
Right. Right. Right.
And I think part of the reason probably is because I don't think there's a huge conspiracy online, but I do think that you're right in the sense that the algorithm, if it's possible to bend it away from that,
Yeah.
it will, or it will be done. But I think the most important thing is the self-censorship, and I think that I mean I can say from a few meetings I've had in the nonprofit sector that there is a great deal of concern about um, communication and websites that contain, now we have like 200 forbidden words. I mean, the New York Times actually published a list of words that the government is scrubbing from all of its websites.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
These are words like sex, you
Right.
know.
No, right.
So,
And
so, so the self-censorship, the form of the self-censorship, and I'm making this up as an example, is instead of saying this program is for people of color, you say this program is for everybody who is currently underserved, right?
yes, yeah, yes,
You
yeah,
will you will not change what you're doing.
right,
You will broaden the name of it so that you're not going to be accused
yes. But
of what they call racism,
but I
right?
want to be very clear here, though, because that is exactly what they say is happening, and to a certain extent, it does. But yes, and that language, and I'm responsible for crafting it sometimes, is never inaccurate. When you say people furthest from opportunity, then
Yeah.
all you need to do is then look at mathematical data and statistics and facts and see who those people are. You don't need to actually name them. It's still true. Both things are true. You're not hiding
I
anything.
agree. However, that's from the perspective of the organization that is, let's say, holding its arms out wide,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But the applicant or the individual
Oh.
may not may not be able to read
No. Oh, no. Yes.
themselves as
Yes.
that
No. Okay. I'm sorry.
because it's not broad,
Yes.
because it's too broad,
We're,
right?
no, because we're talking about two different things though. No, I mean I thought we were talking more like sort of global, but no, actually it is the same thing. How you phrase your policies does actually impact because, for instance, with hiring, yes, the reason again, DEI recruitment never meant lowering your standards. It always meant using different tools to find the right people, and some of those tools were being more explicit about who you were at. We encourage X, Y, or Z to apply. Putting that in an ad does actually encourage people of those categories who might have thought a barrier. When you put explicitly, we honor earned experience, life lived experience. That lets you know we're not only looking at your education and but we're looking at a whole person. But again, not everyone recognizes that language if it doesn't say women, black people, people of color, and the disabled are welcome to apply, which is what you could say, but I guess can't now. So yeah.
You can't you can't say that now,
Yes.
which is which is in and of itself kind of mind-boggling. The the fear that I learned about this week in the in the foundation community, in the New York area-based foundation community,
Yes.
is that the I mean, hope to God this wouldn't happen, but if the government, under or with the authority of this president, had total control of the IRS, they could then withdraw
Yes.
501c3 forms from, I mean, it could put the Ford Foundation out of business, for
Yep.
instance, overnight,
Yep.
let alone all of the trickle down, all of the foundations and charities that depend on them.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, there would be huge legal challenges, I'm
Sure.
sure. But the point is that between them doing that and it going into effect, and even 6 months of legal challenges, I mean,
Oh
a
no.
lot.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
and
I'm giving you a worst case
no, 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 I
scenario.
know. No, yeah, well, I mean, Dad, I work for a nonprofit.
Yes,
This is
I'm
actually
on the
how
board of two
this is how
nonprofits.
I draw my salary. We've
I
been
know.
told, no, and we've been told, no, and specifically that number, 6 months, but what happens beyond 6 months? No, if things were to happen, we have a very good fiscal team. We have a very solid foundation. We have solid. We would be okay for a strong period of time while there were
Yeah,
challenges or
yeah,
what
okay.
happens. But
Yeah.
what happens beyond like that time period? I don't know. And yes, no, this is real. This is very real.
Well, you and a number of others could withstand that hit, that first hit, but there would be lots of very small things from
No, right away. Yes.
theater
Oh,
groups
yes.
to, I don't know, gallery co-ops and things, which would be irreparably damaged,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, anyway, so
No, no, okay, but back to the censorship, self-censorship. I think two things there. One, again, because they're probably using AI, they're casting a very wide net. Like the Department of Defense removed, hundreds of or not hundreds of thousands and thousands of pictures, and some of them are, of the Enola Gay,
well, I mean, this is insane.
named after his mother. Some of them are, a report around fish because it mentioned that they were being sorted by age. I almost said race, age, size, and gender. But they're fish. They're not. We're not talking about. It's not gender theory. It's not. It's literally just an ecology report about fish, but they're not sure now. And again, this is our tax dollars. This is what people at the Pentagon are doing instead of, because they're no longer actively monitoring Russia disinformation. They're scrolling through their own social media accounts from 10 years ago to make sure there's no reference to black people. I mean, this is what our tax dollars are paying for right now.
And meanwhile, we've actually now reached out to the Russians to allow their consulate and embassy staff to come back to the United States. These
Sure.
were the people that were kicked out because they were spies,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. 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 No. Yeah. Yeah.
Now they're being invited back, right?
Yeah. So, well, Trump said earlier this week, Zelensky's harder to deal with than the Russians, with like no context that he is cozying up to and schmoozing the Russians and bullying and strawman. He's acting like he's just sort of this neutral party. And why is Zelensky being so unreasonable?
Yeah, his country's been invaded, but hey, that's no excuse,
No,
right?
and he seems to Trump really. I mean, as far as the bullying and the pressing of the screws, there's one thing he keeps saying that's not true, which is he doesn't hold any of the cards. So first of all, Zelensky has been successfully fighting back the Russians for 3 years. This is not actually, well, they can't say it, but not a popular war in Russia. They're sending people who are amputees to the front lines because they can't do it. So are Ukraine, though. I mean, this is a horrible, horrible war all around. But I mean, this is having impact on the Russians. And let's not forget, Trump is the one who campaigned on and promised, I'll have this done in 24 hours. So every day, that's actually his card slipping, his credibility and his card slipping as it. Zelensky holds some cards in this, actually. I mean, he thought he was going to bully him.
Zelensky's cards are that if he caves in, Poland is next,
Yes,
right?
yes,
His
yes.
cards are that he's holding a line. And he tried to point out to Trump that the Atlantic doesn't necessarily spare the United States from that movement from east to west, right?
Right. No, right.
And Trump that Trump couldn't, he actually couldn't comprehend. I don't think he could get his head or he could understand that. Because to him it's all happening over there and
Yes.
they're
Oh, no,
not
well,
there.
that's his own. Yeah,
They
yeah,
don't
yeah.
like me and I have to pay for them. and it's all baloney because he makes up the numbers as they come into
And
effect.
most of the billions we've given to Ukraine actually go to contracts for American contractors to build weapons. You know that they've. It's yeah. It's not no. And I think the other card Zelensky holds is that the rest of Europe knows that. The rest of Europe knows their history. The rest of Europe sees things as they actually are, including. Well, I mean, now they're not sharing. They're sharing less intel with the United States. They don't. That is a repercussion now that they don't trust us, which they shouldn't. I mean,
They shouldn't, because we don't know. We don't actually know what Trump's end game is. Um,
I, I his end game is to me. His end game is always to play golf. He doesn't care. He'll let other people. He doesn't care as long as he gets a crowd that cheers him. He really doesn't.
I think he's now sees his face on Mount Rushmore. He sees a gold statue of himself
Oh
in the
yeah,
Gaza Strip. I mean, absurd as that
yeah,
is,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think there's a megalomania
Yes.
there that I cannot quite understand how so many people are scared of him, or well, won't stand up to him. I mean, is are their jobs so precious to them, these congressmen and senators, these congress people, that these Republicans, that none of them really have the balls to say what most of them think and feel? Or
Hmm.
is it going to be their constituent? I mean, is there a grassroots movement, regardless of partisanship, which will grow when eggs get more and more expensive and
Yep.
farmers lose their subsidies, and you've got all these federal workers on the dole? I mean, is that
Yeah. Well, there won't be there won't. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. But no.
well?
Yes.
I mean, there'll be
Right. I
the
mean,
the employment figures next month are going to include a lot of people who've just been fired.
yes. Well, no. Unless they exclude government figures, which they're going to start doing. They're going to start cooking the books, all the statistics. They run all the organizations that the data we have has based. So yeah, unemployment statistics will exclude government, so that they already have plans for all that. And no, I think you're right. I think okay. So they're already canceling. Well, town halls are already going badly, so now they're canceling town halls or moving to virtual town halls where they can just remove people if they don't say the right things, or they're screening people carefully at town halls, which is what Trump does at his rallies. That you got to be dressed in MAGA. You got they and no, and Democrats are now holding town halls in Republican districts saying, well, if they won't listen to you, we will. And I think that's actually that's a pretty smart strategy.
Yeah, I mean, these are presumably, a lot of these are people who voted for Trump.
Yes.
Um,
I,
and
I,
they're not. Are they going to vote locally in the midterms for politicians who continue to bow down to Trump?
yes. But well, so I no. Here's I okay. Here I think buyer's remorse will take a long time. I think just the psychology of sunk cost. People have invested themselves in him. Some of the really hot button social issues they really believe, and he's really utilizing to keep them activated that way. They've already bought the merchandise, so or the crypto or whatever, so they literally feel bought in. It's going to take a minute before they really admit things aren't going as well, or that things aren't going as well because of him. They'll still believe 2 years down the line it's Biden's economy and Trump is doing the best he can. And I mean, I do believe that. I do think by the midterms, well, no, yeah. how things are actually going for real Americans versus how much can Elon Musk again just threaten and primary any Republican who does go against Trump, because that's all he's threatening to use his money. I mean, it's so what wins out? He's the world's richest man. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think he is, but he's got the New York Times saying that over and over again, and
yes,
I really there are pretty easy way. I mean,
yes,
he's on a very, they're looking at Forbes magazine, right?
yes,
Well, when I worked at an auction house, Forbes magazine employees, actually their interns,
right,
would call me and try to get information about this collector or that collector
yes.
so that they could figure out what their art collection was worth so that they could then figure out what they were worth,
So
right?
they're just, you think that they're
I
just like,
refused. I wouldn't. They called me every year,
right,
and I wouldn't give them any information,
sure,
right? But I know from those conversations,
how they're, yeah,
those interns, right?
yes,
Interns would throw zeros around,
sure,
right?
no, sure.
I
And
mean, maybe it's more sophisticated now, but a lot of that is self-reporting,
yes,
right?
yes.
And there are a lot of very wealthy people who don't want anybody to know what
But
they're worth.
right, no, right.
And the people who are excluded from that list are usually heads of state or people who actually own their countries, like the Middle
Yes,
East,
yeah.
or even the British royal family, which has huge real estate holdings in London and New York. They
Yes,
never appear on those
right,
lists.
no, right,
So
right.
he's the, I mean, you could say he's the richest young American, maybe. I don't know, under
Right, no,
50.
right. Right, yeah.
And if I think if Tesla's stock plummets,
Yeah,
then he's seriously not rich, that rich anymore. And his his spaceship has now exploded
okay,
twice.
now this is the one where I'm going to. Well, no, I have a few ways of thinking about it here. One, I don't know. One of the editorials was, if he wasn't off running Doge, would this have happened? Yeah, because he's not an engineer, and I don't think he
Yeah,
actually
of course
does
it
any.
would
He has any
happen.
benefits to his company. I don't
Right.
think. I think his companies do better when he's not meddling with them. Because when he's meddling with them, he does things like the Cybertruck or the. So I don't think that. I also think part of space exploration is. This is actually. I hate to agree with him, but this is always what he says, and he's right. That part of science exploration is learning from your mistakes. And so, I mean, there are reasons that these aren't unmanned. I will say Jeff Bezos, who is his rival, who is often also listed as possibly the world's richest man, who they also have a space rivalry, he can actually send people into space. He's done it a few times successfully. So Elon Musk is, for all his we're going to Mars, this is just evidence of where his company is. Which leads to, why do they get all the government contracts when they can't even get a rocket off the ground? But
Well,
I do accept. I don't think it's his fault. I don't think it's an indication the company is bad. I think it's all part of the learning experience, and that is all part of science. But that's the level they're at. They're not at the sending people into space level, let alone we're going to Mars by 2030 or whatever ridiculous thing he's saying.
no, I agree with everything you've said. However, after the first blow up, there was there was an independent investigation
Ah,
which would have taken. I mean, what we don't know what its results would be,
right.
but when Trump came in,
Oh,
the space agency immediately canceled that. So that the whether there were reparations for people who got bashed in the head by
yes. Yeah.
I mean, whatever that was, he was he avoided the consequences of what another entrepreneur might have suffered in terms of
Yes.
lawsuits or having to or wait time or
Right.
having government people come and examine his
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
he was allowed to try again, I think, far sooner than somebody else would
Of
have
course.
been
No. Okay.
after
Okay.
that kind of an accident.
Yes. Um, and I,
But I agree with you that this is the nature of the beast.
yeah.
But every time there's an air crash here, anywhere, there's an investigation that
Right.
goes.
No, right, right, right. And at least from what is publicly available, we know that there are environmental impacts. There are still, I don't whatever it sounds unscientific, but like basically thin spots in the atmosphere from the last one, let alone this one. We don't even know what the fallout all over the Caribbean is going to be for weeks and whatnot. The other thing that just made me think of when you said, you know, he wouldn't have to be investigated like anyone else would. This makes me think of Trump and his grievances about being investigated in Mar-a-Lago. You know they gave those documents back, right? All the documents he wasn't supposed to take in the first place, the FBI has now given them. Well, back they're his now, I guess.
They have,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but they oh, because he's the president again.
Because he's the president, and because it vindicates him in some way. I mean, it doesn't. At the end of the day, these are now probably 5, 8 year old outdated maps and whatnot. These are so. At one point, he was said to be showing people like top secret things that he had like just in his bathroom just to impress them, but it wasn't. I mean, lots of things are labeled top. No one was actually worried. It wasn't real nuclear secrets. It was just like, I got some top secret stuff, but it's like, I don't know.
He what he'll do is, as God forbid he gets a third term, but he'll take them after he'll make a big thing of taking them again
Yes,
when he's no longer president, right?
yes, yes.
And people will be so fed up they'll let him have. I mean,
I mean, well, we already are. I mean, no one says anything about the Hatch Act. No one says anything about his crypto and his NFTs and things he's selling right from the White House, like from the Oval Office. Like he's literally doing like infomercials from the Oval Office, and we're just like, ugh, Trump being Trump again. I can't. I don't.
Meanwhile, Netflix is giving Melania money for a documentary, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the media world is not well, the mainstream media world is not distinguishing itself at this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think all we're gonna have left pretty soon is like foreign media. I mean, I think we're really, and I don't even know. I mean, I know. Well, it was reported that and this was, and again, I don't even know what this was based on, but I got this from American media. Canada, does not feels very strongly anti-Trump. They feel very strongly, Buy Canadian has roared back, but they don't blame the average American. And I don't know on what basis they were saying this, and I'm thinking, why not? They should. At this point, they should. I mean, we did this. This didn't happen in a vacuum or by itself. But
well, yeah. Well, Wayne Gretzky has fallen from grace, certainly.
yes, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's big. That's their Joe DiMaggio. I mean, that's
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, but then okay, and then the head of Jack Daniels, who removed their DEI and donated to Trump and all that, is now saying that Canadian bars and stores taking American liquor off their shelves entirely. That is an unfair response. I'm like, you did this. You voted for this. You paid for this. This is what I mean. He said tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. He didn't. He is doing what he's promised to do. I mean, that's one thing no one can criticize. He's doing exactly everything he said he was going to do. And so, I mean, it's yeah.
Actually, the big liquor fortunes in this country, Bronfman and others, were all started by being able to bring booze from Canada during Prohibition.
Oh, that's
A lot of
interesting.
them
Okay.
are Canadian
Okay.
families, and
Okay.
they're
Well,
smuggling into New York State, for instance.
yes, 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 yes. Yes. No, and that made me think two things. One, Jack Daniels in particular, even though obviously you're not going to find it on their website anymore, their first master distiller was a former slave freedman who taught Jack Daniels how to still whiskey and then became their first master distiller. 2 years ago, they were super proud of this. Now, of course, you're not going to find, yeah, when they needed a little bit of street cred, and I mean, even to acknowledge that is to acknowledge he basically just took a black guy's recipe, started his own company, put his own name on it, and stole. But this brings me back to what you were saying. You mentioned reparations. I find it interesting that Trump said in his speech that Panama owes us for the canal because Americans died building it, which is true, but so did Panamanians and many other people from around the world because it was an international building effort. Because it has benefited people internationally. But that tells me he understands the concept of reparations. Because because this country was built on slaves who died physically building the railroads, building the buildings and institutions, some of those buildings in Washington. So he and his billionaire buddies can go live on the Panama Canal after they give the country back over to the indigenous folks who were here first and the slaves who built it, who built the institutions. That he knows, he acknowledged he understands what reparations are, how it works.
Well, his knowledge of it is equivalent to my high school definition of communism. What yours is mine and what's mine's my own. Right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's interesting. Well, there were two, yeah, well, some American company has bought two of the big ports that were
Yes. Yeah.
no, but they weren't owned by Panama anyway.
Right. Well, no, there was a whole thing with a Hong Kong firm who has now given up their lease or whatever. I mean, but again, this is just using general purpose. And again, I don't know how we're using general purpose xenophobia against the Chinese government. Not that the Chinese Communist government is our friend in any way, but cozying up to the Russians and make that make sense. Like, we're still villainizing them in completely random ways because some private Hong Kong firm running ports at the Panama Canal has nothing to do with the Chinese Communist government, but him making phone calls to Vladimir 2 times a week, that seems a little bit more
Vladimir is white, and and Vladimir
I know
flatters
that.
him. I'm sure Vladimir flatters him.
Yeah.
He's KGB. He knows what he's doing,
Say it
right?
again.
He's KGB.
Yeah, no, yeah, yes.
What is Trump? He's a TV. He's a TV guy.
No, yeah, he's completely out of his depth. But
It's way. Well, anyway.
Okay, the best thing I saw at the protest was a hat, and it's funny because I recognized the color scheme and the font before I read. So it was a hat. It was maroon and gold lettering, and it was a very distinctive font. But it didn't say Murder She Wrote. It just said Jessica Fletcher on it, and I was like, "That is."
very good.
But the font is distinctive enough that you get it immediately. And so it was a woman of an age who would remember this show, and I just came up to her and I said, "I like your hat," and she seemed kind of surprised that I was like, "Yeah, I like Murder She Wrote." But yeah, no, it was that I would genuinely, I was like, "That is great." I don't know, of course I thought of you because we love Murder She Wrote.
I think they're restreaming it. I saw an ad for it.
Oh, nice.
Maybe Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how young she looked.
Right. Yes. No. But her career goes back to like the 30s or the 40s, like
She
literally.
was in Gaslight.
Yeah.
She
No, I
was
mean,
in the movie that made the term gaslighting.
yes. No. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
She was the maid. She was the blonde maid.
Right. No. Yeah. And that's where I can remember being like, oh my gosh, she's so young. Yes. Amazon, you said Prime. Amazon buying James Bond. Thoughts, feelings, concerns.
Um, well, I link it to a lot of things that have to do with whether it's artist work or I guess musicians, is there's inevitably a moment in the licensing life beyond the death of either the creator
Yes.
or the principals,
Yes.
that is 25, 50. There's a point at 75 years, there's a point at which a new generation is not prepared to maintain the same sense of they're not prepared to pay a premium for sustaining, how can I say this? The kind of the box that it was born into. In other
Right.
words, the bets are off. You can use Popeye for whatever you want.
Yes.
And the family that really knew that they could make, that it was in their interests not to sell Bond to everybody or not to
Right.
use Bond to sell ice cream or
Right.
whatever it is. Now they don't, now the money actually, it's the money that is, I mean, Albert Broccoli's dead. I guess, is this his daughter
It's
or grand?
Barbara Broccoli, and yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's a
No.
point at which the money, it matters more.
Okay.
And
Well, I think a few things here, and so sometimes it doesn't. Okay, well, one thing. Let's remember, Ian Fleming is actually the original. Ian Fleming is the intellectual property creator. Ian Fleming, also, by the way, is the writer of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the Disney musical about a flying car. I went back and watched it just once I learned that fact, or I tried to. I didn't watch the whole thing. But what made it make sense is it's one long car chase, which many James Bond movies are also basically just one long car
okay,
chase. So that was random to me. But so Ian Fleming, then I don't know what rights the fam. I don't think they have any. I mean, if they continue to use original stories, which Quantum of Solace, as far as I know, is the last one based on an Quantum. No, yes. Casino Royale was based on a novel. Quantum of Solace is based on a short story, and then the other ones have just been original things. So that's one sort of chain in the sort of how it starts
well, the
to.
Ian Fleming estate must have licensed his characters
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. But yes,
to
and again,
Broccoli for filming.
and someone made
Maybe,
that decision or a deal years ago or whatever with and sometimes again you make a deal not realizing sort of all the directions it could then go. I'm almost certain because Amazon has now announced that James Bond will remain British male, and they didn't say white but British and male, and I'm assuming these are stipulations of Barbara Broccoli because she's been very
yeah, okay. So she's, yeah.
which is, and that's her. That's what's important to her. Okay, and then I guess the other piece of it that people are sort of saying is this the. Oh, and I'm sorry. When you think about for me, it was Star Wars. George Lucas, and he sold out. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean sold out. He sold his creative participation, decades ago, and people have all sorts of feelings of that. People have feelings of good because his last three movies weren't that good, so let other people take it and move it in a new direction. Some people really love the TV series and love all the things that happened since. Other people don't. Other people really want to blame Kathleen Kennedy because she's a woman and because there's obviously from 20 years ago to now been more diversity, which they think is somehow her personally or whatever. So all of those considerations, and I guess again moving forward, but then also one thing that was an unintended repercussion of it falling to Disney is Star Wars used to be movies you went to see in a theater, but now they are primarily series you stream, and people are worried, like, James Bond are event tentpole movies, are you now going to just mine it of his property and it's going to be a dozen different spin-off character, Moneypenny, the series, Q, the series, you know what I mean? Like they could, or are you going to be true to James Bond? Are you going to keep it? I mean, people have, and some people who just want lots of content might want all the series. You know what I'm saying? It's not a either or. Like fans are divided.
Okay, so I have a parallel here,
Yes.
which is that quite a long time ago, I guess, Agatha Christie copyright lapsed.
Okay.
Now, the the heirs did designate, I think her name is Sophie Hannah, a British mystery writer, to continue to write Agatha Christie books, okay? And some of them are good. I mean, I read
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
however, Hercule Poirot as a character is now kind of up for grabs. He's in, you can,
Is that because it's been 70? It's because
yes,
it's public
yes,
domain.
it
Yes. Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so there are lots of different movies, TV series. There's one in French. I mean,
Right.
that's actually uses Agatha Christie's name too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
Brothers
Yeah.
of Agatha Christie's, which is it's a very funny French show.
Right.
It doesn't, I haven't been able to discern any plot that remotely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big fan. I always was since I was 9 years old, but I
Sure.
don't mind that because
Yes.
I can use my discretion to say,
Yes.
that's a good Hercule Poirot. That's a ridiculous one,
Sure.
right?
Sure. Sure. Sure.
And you could say, well, this new James, this is a twist on James Bond that I personally approve of
Right.
or personally dislike,
Right.
right? Um,
Well, they already did Casino Royale James Bond as a slapstick comedy with David Niven. He's the one everyone forgets was a James Bond between Sean Connery and
oh, he
Roger Moore.
was. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Which yeah, I mean, and that was official. That was well, it was. They credit Ian Fleming as the story, but I believe he's not named James in. I can't remember, but it's called Casino Royale. I know. Yeah, it's once
I
you get into
remember
the
that.
intellectual property, like it gets interesting. Like Olive Oil and Popeye are in the public domain, but Bluto and Wimpy won't be for a couple years because they didn't enter the comic for a couple years. Disney, yeah, Disney's always so Frankenstein. You can do lots of things with Frankenstein because the book has been in the public domain. But Universal monsters like him being green, the bolts, certain things are still like certain. You know what I mean? Like certain elements aren't canon to the book, but part of what other people
They've
added.
been copyrighted when they've been made into a movie or into a.
Which is yes. And then sometimes, and which is why more and more recently, you'll see a somewhat half-hearted reboot or remake of something, and sometimes it's literally like a down-to-the-wire, oh wow, we have 2 years to make a movie, so we will make the lowest budget movie we almost don't even want anyone to see, just so that we have the copyright for this property for another 23 years or whatever I don't know what the
Oh, I
current.
see. Okay, yeah.
But no, I don't know. Okay, two things I want to ask you about. Two things I want to ask you about. Did you hear about this art piece with the pigs?
Oh, the pigs were stolen,
Well,
right?
yes, but yeah, the original intention was an art piece where, in a public forum, you would slowly watch three baby piglets starve to death. The piece was by a Chilean artist, and it's called "And Now You Care." Thoughts on the piece itself? Thoughts on it being stolen? Yeah, no. I'm just curious. Any of your thoughts?
Um, First of all, I don't think I'm all for live animals being used in art, but I think they should be paid for their participation
Yes.
and not. I think they should be
Right.
because well, I would say that I'm responsible for this whole movement because I rented the coyote that Joseph Beuys used in his piece in the gallery below mine in 1974.
How? I'm sorry. That's the part of the story. Like, how do you rent a coyote?
It's in the book.
Oh, okay.
So it's in
All
the
right.
book. I was very friendly with the dealer who was from Germany, and I knew
Okay.
the performance piece. I'd met Boyce, but I was really the downstairs neighbor.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
before, I get a
Yes.
telegram from Rene Bloch in Germany
Mhm.
saying, "We don't get me. Find me, please, Michael. Find me a coyote." Right?
Right.
Because the piece was that the artist would live with a coyote in the gallery for
Right.
4 days. Right?
Right.
And I'd completely forgotten. I hadn't forgotten the piece, but I'd forgotten the fact that I got this telegram. I went to the Yellow Pages. I found a coyote for $100 a day
Sure.
from a guy in New Jersey who
Yep.
had,
Yep.
I don't know, an animal farm or something. I mean, it
Yep.
was pretty straightforward. It was
Yep.
no big deal, except that, especially in Germany, art historians have, in fact, created a whole elaborate myth that this was a wild coyote from the Wild West. It had a name, it had a history,
Huh.
but but it was, I mean, the coyote was tame, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Hurt,
Yes.
didn't bite anybody, wasn't bitten, and so I'm very much against. I'm against injuring animals. I'm also against self-mutilation as art. I think it's kind of there's quite a lot of it been going on.
Oh, recently or yeah. Okay. I.
Chris Burden, the Chris Burden started it in 1971 when he had somebody shoot him in the arm with a
Yeah.
rifle.
Yeah. 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 No. Who was the female artist who had all the implements and invited people to? Was that? Who was that? That was.
Lena Abramovich.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
mean, Abramovich, she's a real hustler. I think
Oh. Huh.
she actually tried, she wanted to replicate what a previous generation of artists had
Huh.
done
Huh.
and do it all on herself or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's sensationalism. I mean, it's uh, what's the point? I don't, but I think that whoever freed the pigs should get the art prize. I mean, I
I in college,
wasn't the
I
intention was
as
actually to
a
watch them.
wait, go
Were they
what?
being the intention was that they would starve?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes, no, that was the intention. No, okay. Self mutilation in college. I did a piece where basically I just shaved my head with a straight razor. I anticipated there would be some blood. There was some blood. It got attention. I never felt good about it. I never felt like it was a particularly like. It was kind of like a last minute like, what am I going to do for this performance piece? Well, that'll shock people, especially given the fact that I had long-ish hair at the time. I had already been shaving my head in high school, so it wasn't particularly but for these people it was shock value. I think I've been thinking a lot about shock value in art recently. I'll just put it that way. As far as the intention to starve, my initial thought, and this was interesting for me as a vegan, especially because the provocative title "And Now You Care," I thought, yeah, no. I mean, I was not that I was okay with the piece because I agree with you. Fundamentally, I don't think animals should be harmed. I think, all the rumors about Ozzy biting bats' heads off, I was always happy to know that's not true. They were always props. It's always fake blood. But of course, the right wing, we're going to spin it into he's actually biting bats' heads off. But yeah, I agree. I don't want animals to be harmed. But I think the theme that, well, now that you see it, you care is provocative, but I also think it's artificial, and that's why it's wrong, because a pig farm would tell you, well, we don't starve baby piglets to death. What we do is we wait till they grow up, and then we, in their minds, kill them in a humane way and blah, 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 and here's how we treat them while they're alive. And a farmer has a whole narrative about why what they do is okay, and I can agree with them or disagree with them, but it's very different than putting pigs in a thing for people to watch starve to death. That's not what they do. And so it is artificially using an emotional appeal in a way that's insincere. So it's not even that I care less about the animal rights aspect than I do, in fact, that it's actually an artificial emotional appeal. That's what ultimately made me say I don't like this work, or I disagree with this work.
But if in fact the pigs were freed, right?
Yes.
So that was the artist's intention.
Yes.
Oh, now you care.
Oh,
In other
well,
words,
it is
in other words,
interesting.
he allowed them to be free, right?
It's being called an inside job, and he's saying he's so dismayed that his friend was involved, but I
No,
maybe,
I don't think there was an intention
yeah,
to see them starve to death.
yeah,
I think the intention was at a certain point, either a stranger or a setup
yeah,
would free them.
yeah.
So,
Okay, but okay, extrapolating this out, what if the artist took farm ready pigs who were of age, got a real farm hand, had the bolt thing that they do the thing with the head with them, and had them do it right there on the floor of an art gallery? How would you feel about that?
well, I mean, I don't think it's art. I think that showing people a movie of how animals are slaughtered could probably achieve the same thing.
And those documentaries exist, and they're very graphic. I actually question their efficacy too. I think people
I
do like to
wouldn't
see the
want to
hot.
see that, but I'm squeamish, but
No, but I think to a certain extent, people know they don't want to see it, but they know how the sausage is made, and that doesn't change the narrative. There is a chef here. He lives on, I think, Bainbridge Island. He does this weekend thing where they slaughter the pig sort of in a very ceremonial way, and then they render it in front of the audience. They butcher it in front of the audience, and then they eat all parts of it throughout feasts throughout the weekend. And it's, I have actually no problem. Again, is that art? No, but I have no problem with it if those people want to. If that helps them feel connected to their food in a way, and they don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. In as much as, yeah, I can't control. I don't know. This is not where I thought this conversation was going to go. The other one I wanted to talk to you about was Eric Adams. So now, okay, to make this make sense to me. So everyone is agreeing the president could blackmail Eric Adams. So the only solution we have, rather than shore up any laws or do anything to address that, is, well, we better than just drop all the charges. That way he can't that is where we're at now. Like, that is like. Is that, am I misunderstanding what we're doing or what we're talking, how, because that's how
well,
they're
who is
talking about it.
dropping the charges?
Well, no, I don't know no one's dropped charges yet, but,
It's Trump's Justice Department
well,
that has dropped the
no, well,
charges.
yes, that already happened because that was federal, but then this is state charges, and someone, I want to say it was the prosecution, so the people who were originally going to prosecute Eric Adams, who are now recommending dropping the charges, and really in no uncertain terms saying, we recommend this so that to both avoid him being actually blackmailed or the appearance of blackmail. And I would say the other way to avoid the appearance of blackmail is do something to prevent the president from blackmailing him, not drop the charges. I mean, it's...
Well, there is still, even if the prosecution says we don't want to prosecute, they've reached a point where a judge has to make the decision. A
Yes.
judge can make a decision
Yes.
that he should be prosecuted.
Yes. I mean, we're relying on this.
Find some guy on the street corner to do it.
Yep. Yep.
Or the judge can at least say there is enough evidence to warrant that him be prosecuted, and there is no evidence to suggest that the charges should be dropped, other
Right.
than
No,
from the White
right.
House, right? I mean,
But, we'll see. We'll see.
practically speaking,
Yes.
he's not going to be elected.
No. Right. So, we're talking
So in a
about...
way, you're perhaps saving the taxpayers money,
Right.
because either way, he's not going to get
Right.
reelected. Um, I don't know. I don't know who is.
So, but is that it now? You commit crimes and you don't go to jail, but at least you don't get real. I don't know. I mean, what is he going to do? He's going to do private speaking and write a book, and he's. I'm just mad. I'm mad about it. I'm.
um, he'll still have his table, at the restaurant, or whatever.
He'll just hold court. That no, you're right. That's it. So yeah,
He'll have flunkies. He'll have girlfriends, and I don't know.
yeah.
Uh, I I don't know who's going to. There are a whole bunch of people wanting. Well, Cuomo.
Did he come out? Did he say come out now?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he's running for mayor.
What
Cuomo.
do you think? I mean, no.
Yeah, the guy would. I mean, he's a jerkwater. He's a scuzzy.
Yeah,
He's a keen politician.
yeah,
I don't doubt that he's paid people or paid women to shut up about what he's done.
yeah,
He
yeah.
bluffed that out. He thinks he's impregnable, but I think he's going to find out he's not very well liked. I mean,
Not in the city, no, and that's I mean that yeah no, and that's
get Staten Island. I don't know.
yeah. Is there anyone else running? Is there anyone or announced or considering?
Honestly, I read the article and I don't remember I don't remember.
No one that made an impress. No one that jumped out at you is like yeah, yeah, yeah. So what are you looking forward to? What anything good? Anything good?
Uh, Taking a nap, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Doing more of that now,
Yes,
5
yeah, yeah,
months
yeah.
ago. No, it's okay. Yeah, it's all good. I'm fine.
Good.
So can we do it next Sunday at the same time? Can we do
Yes,
that?
I thought you were in Hong Kong. When are you going to Hong Kong?
I'm going to Hong Kong the week after that.
Okay, so next Sunday this
I'm here
time?
next weekend, but then
Yes.
I won't be for 2 weekends.
Okay, and this time at 1 o'clock your time?
10 o'clock your time.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, okay,
All
good.
right. Talk to you
All right.
then. I love you.
Bye.